2 years ago, my husband abandoned me at Westfield Shopping Center with $17 in my wallet and no way home, laughing as he drove away with his friends. Yesterday, he watched in terror as my personal security team escorted me through that same mall entrance while I finalized the acquisition of his former employer's entire company. This is the story of how the worst betrayal of my life became the catalyst for building a business empire that transformed me from a discarded wife into one of the most influential women in the Pacific Northwest. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Catherine Morgan, and at 31 years old, I had convinced myself that my life was exactly what I deserved. I lived in a modest, 3-bedroom house in Bellevue, Washington, with my husband of 4 years, Trevor Morgan, who worked as a regional sales manager for Pacific Northwest Electronics, a mid-sized technology distribution company based in Seattle. Trevor earned approximately $75,000 annually, which provided us with a comfortable middle-class lifestyle that included a reliable Honda Accord, occasional dinner dates at chain restaurants, and annual vacations to destinations within driving distance of our home. We maintained joint checking and savings accounts, though Trevor handled all financial decisions and bill payments, explaining that his business education made him better suited for managing our household finances. My daily routine centered around my position as an administrative coordinator at Eastside Community College, where I had worked for the past 6 years. The position paid $38,000 annually and involved managing student records, coordinating class schedules, and providing administrative support to academic department heads. My supervisor, Margaret Chen, frequently praised my organizational abilities and attention to detail, noting that I had never missed a deadline or made a significant error in my record-keeping responsibilities. The work environment at Eastside Community College was pleasant and predictable. I arrived each morning at 7:30, reviewed the daily agenda that I had prepared the previous evening, and systematically addressed each task with methodical precision. My colleagues appreciated my reliability and often sought my assistance with complex scheduling challenges or data management projects that required careful coordination between multiple departments. During lunch breaks, I typically ate alone in my office while reading industry publications about educational administration or browsing online courses that might enhance my professional qualifications. I had developed a particular interest in business management principles and had begun taking evening classes toward a Bachelor of Arts degree in business administration through the college's employee education program. My relationship with Trevor had evolved into a comfortable pattern of shared routines and mutual accommodation. He typically returned from work around 6:30 in the evening, and we would discuss the events of our respective days while preparing dinner together. Trevor enjoyed recounting his sales achievements and client interactions, often providing detailed analyses of negotiation strategies that had proven successful in closing significant deals. Weekend activities generally included household maintenance tasks, grocery shopping expeditions to Costco, and social gatherings with Trevor's colleagues from Pacific Northwest Electronics. These gatherings usually took place at suburban restaurants or in the homes of his coworkers, where conversations focused on industry developments, sports events, and shared experiences from their professional environment. Trevor's social circle consisted primarily of other sales professionals and their spouses, most of whom had achieved similar levels of middle-class prosperity through careers in technology sales, real estate, or financial services. The group had developed strong bonds through company events, recreational activities, and mutual support during professional challenges such as economic downturns or company restructuring initiatives. My role within this social network was generally supportive and peripheral. While the other wives often engaged in conversations about home decorating projects, children's activities, or vacation planning, I found myself listening more than participating, partly because Trevor and I had not yet started a family, and partly because our financial resources were more limited than those of many group members. The social dynamics within Trevor's professional network revealed subtle hierarchies based on income levels, job titles, and material possessions. Some couples owned larger homes in more prestigious neighborhoods, drove luxury vehicles, and took international vacations that provided conversation topics for months afterward. Others, like Trevor and myself, occupied a middle tier within the group, comfortable but not affluent, respected but not influential. Trevor's personality had gradually shifted over the 4 years of our marriage, from the attentive and considerate partner I had initially fallen in love with, to someone more focused on his professional advancement and social standing within his peer group. He had developed an increasing preoccupation with comparing our lifestyle to that of his more successful colleagues, often expressing frustration about our financial limitations and his desire to achieve greater prosperity. These concerns manifested in various ways throughout our daily interactions. Trevor would comment on the age of our furniture when visiting homes with more expensive furnishings, express dissatisfaction with our vacation destinations when colleagues shared photos from exotic international trips, and make subtle criticisms about my wardrobe when attending professional events where other wives wore designer clothing. His friends from Pacific Northwest Electronics had begun to influence his perspectives and behavior in ways that concerned me but that I initially attributed to normal professional ambition and social adaptation. The group included several individuals who regularly made disparaging comments about their spouses, treating their wives' opinions and contributions with dismissive humor that other group members seemed to find entertaining. During these social gatherings, I observed patterns of behavior that troubled me but that I rationalized as temporary phases in our relationship development. Trevor would sometimes join his colleagues in making jokes at my expense, particularly regarding my educational background, professional position, or contributions to our household income. When I expressed discomfort about these interactions, he would dismiss my concerns as oversensitivity and remind me that his colleagues were simply engaging in good-natured humor. The financial structure of our marriage had evolved to give Trevor complete control over our major financial decisions, joint accounts, and long-term planning activities. I contributed my entire salary to our joint checking account and received a monthly allowance for personal expenses such as clothing, personal care items, and individual entertainment activities. This arrangement had initially seemed practical and efficient, but I had begun to feel increasingly disconnected from our financial reality and future planning processes. My personal interests and aspirations had gradually been subordinated to Trevor's career advancement goals and social networking priorities. I had once harbored ambitions to complete my bachelor's degree and potentially pursue graduate education in business administration, but these plans had been repeatedly postponed to accommodate Trevor's professional obligations and our joint financial commitments. The evening classes I attended at Eastside Community College provided my primary source of intellectual stimulation and personal growth. Professor William Rodriguez, who taught strategic business management, had become an informal mentor who encouraged my analytical thinking and frequently praised my contributions to class discussions about organizational leadership and operational efficiency. Through these academic experiences, I had begun to recognize capabilities within myself that were not being utilized or developed within my current professional and personal circumstances. My classmates often sought my input on complex case studies and group projects, noting my ability to identify systemic problems and develop comprehensive solutions that addressed multiple stakeholder interests simultaneously. The contrast between my expanding intellectual confidence in academic settings and my diminishing influence within my marriage had created internal tension that I struggled to address directly. Trevor's increasing dismissiveness of my opinions and aspirations made it difficult to discuss my growing desire for greater professional challenges and personal autonomy. My daily routine at Eastside Community College had expanded beyond my official administrative responsibilities to include informal consulting activities for department heads who valued my analytical perspective on operational challenges. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the Dean of Student Services, had begun involving me in strategic planning discussions and had suggested that I might be well suited for advancement to higher-level administrative positions that would require additional education and professional development. These professional recognition experiences provided stark contrast to my home environment, where Trevor's attitude toward my work had become increasingly condescending. He often referred to my position as, quote, just administrative support, and suggested that my contributions to our household income were minimal compared to his sales achievements and advancement potential. The social isolation that had gradually developed within our marriage became more apparent during interactions with Trevor's professional network. While other couples seemed to function as genuine partnerships with mutual respect and shared decision-making authority, I found myself relegated to a supporting role that offered little opportunity for meaningful contribution or personal recognition. My attempts to engage more actively in social conversations were often interrupted or redirected by Trevor, who seemed uncomfortable when I expressed opinions that differed from his own or demonstrated knowledge about topics he considered outside my area of expertise. This pattern had become so consistent that I had begun to anticipate and avoid situations that might result in public embarrassment or private criticism. The erosion of my confidence and autonomy within our marriage had occurred so gradually that I had initially failed to recognize the systematic nature of these changes. Looking back, I could identify specific moments when Trevor had begun testing boundaries and establishing patterns of control that would eventually define our relationship dynamic. The upcoming weekend shopping trip to Westfield Shopping Center had been planned as a routine expedition to purchase new clothing for Trevor's company's annual sales conference, an event that required professional attire that projected success and advancement potential. Trevor had emphasized the importance of making a positive impression on senior management and potential clients who would be attending the conference. What I did not anticipate was that this ordinary shopping expedition would become the catalyst for the most devastating and ultimately transformative experience of my entire life, forcing me to confront the reality of my marriage and launching a journey of personal and professional development that would exceed anything I had previously imagined possible. As I prepared for what I believed would be a typical Saturday afternoon of shopping and shared decision-making about Trevor's professional wardrobe, I had no understanding that I was approaching a moment that would completely redefine my understanding of my own capabilities, my worth as an individual, and my potential for creating extraordinary success through determination and strategic thinking. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Saturday morning arrived with the crisp clarity that characterized October weather in the Pacific Northwest. The temperature had dropped to 42 degrees overnight, and a light frost covered the lawn outside our kitchen window as I prepared breakfast for Trevor and myself. The weather forecast predicted afternoon temperatures reaching the mid-50s with partly cloudy skies. Ideal conditions for the shopping expedition we had planned to Westfield Shopping Center in downtown Seattle. Trevor emerged from our bedroom at 8:30, already dressed in casual weekend attire that included dark jeans, a navy blue sweater, and leather boots that projected the professional image he maintained even during personal activities. His morning routine included reviewing industry news on his tablet while consuming coffee, and the scrambled eggs with wheat toast that I had prepared according to his preferences. The sales conference is going to be crucial for my advancement opportunities, Trevor explained as he reviewed his notes about the upcoming corporate event. Regional managers from all 5 Pacific Northwest territories will be presenting quarterly performance data to the executive team. This could determine whether I receive consideration for the district manager position that opens up next year. Pacific Northwest Electronics had experienced significant growth over the previous 18 months, expanding from regional distribution of computer hardware to comprehensive technology solutions for small and medium businesses throughout Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. The company's success had created advancement opportunities for sales professionals who demonstrated exceptional performance and leadership potential. Trevor's performance metrics had consistently ranked him among the top 15% of regional sales managers within the company, earning recognition from senior management and generating optimism about his promotion prospects. The annual sales conference represented an opportunity to present strategic initiatives and demonstrate leadership capabilities to executives who would influence advancement decisions. I need to project confidence and success through every aspect of my presentation, Trevor continued. The clothing choices I make will communicate my readiness for increased responsibility and my understanding of corporate culture expectations. This shopping trip needs to result in a complete professional wardrobe that positions me as executive material. The drive to Westfield Shopping Center required approximately 45 minutes through Saturday morning traffic that included families heading to recreational activities and individuals conducting weekend errands throughout the greater Seattle metropolitan area. Trevor drove our Honda Accord while discussing his strategic approach to the sales conference presentation and his analysis of competitive positioning within the company hierarchy. Westfield Shopping Center represented one of the premier retail destinations in the Pacific Northwest, featuring over 200 stores, restaurants, and service providers within a sprawling complex that attracted shoppers from throughout the region. The facility included major department stores such as Nordstrom, Macy's, and JCPenney, along with specialty retailers, dining establishments, and entertainment venues that created a comprehensive shopping experience. We arrived at the shopping center at 10:15 and located parking in the covered garage adjacent to the main retail complex. The parking structure was already significantly occupied despite the early hour, indicating the popularity of weekend shopping activities among regional residents. Trevor selected a parking space on the third level that provided convenient access to the department stores where he planned to purchase professional attire. The interior of Westfield Shopping Center featured contemporary architecture with high ceilings, natural lighting, and decorative elements that created an upscale atmosphere designed to encourage extended shopping visits. The main concourse included comfortable seating areas, landscaped planters, and information kiosks that provided directory services and promotional materials for individual retailers. Our first destination was the men's department at Nordstrom, where Trevor intended to purchase suits, dress shirts, ties, and accessories that would project the professional image he required for the sales conference. The Nordstrom men's department featured an extensive selection of business attire from premium brands, along with personal shopping services and tailoring facilities that could ensure proper fit and professional appearance. Trevor spent considerable time examining various suit options, consulting with sales associates about fabric quality, styling details, and appropriate combinations for different business occasions. His approach to clothing selection demonstrated the same methodical analysis that characterized his professional sales activities, with careful consideration of cost-benefit relationships and strategic positioning implications. The shopping process extended over several hours as Trevor evaluated options from multiple retailers, compared prices and quality levels, and sought my input regarding color coordination and style preferences. My role during this process was primarily supportive, offering opinions when requested and carrying packages as purchases accumulated. During our lunch break at the food court, Trevor received several phone calls from colleagues at Pacific Northwest Electronics who were also preparing for the sales conference. These conversations included discussions about presentation strategies, competitive intelligence regarding other regional managers, and speculation about executive decision-making processes that would influence advancement opportunities. Jason Mitchell and Bradley Stevens, two of Trevor's closest friends from the company, had arranged to meet us at the shopping center to provide input regarding Trevor's wardrobe selections and to conduct their own shopping activities in preparation for the conference. Both men had achieved success as regional sales managers and were considered strong candidates for promotion to district management positions. Jason arrived at 2:30 accompanied by his wife Amanda, while Bradley appeared 15 minutes later with his girlfriend Nicole. The expanded group created a more social atmosphere as we continued shopping activities, with increased conversation about professional topics, personal relationships, and shared experiences within their workplace environment. The dynamic within the group shifted noticeably once Trevor's colleagues joined our shopping expedition. Conversations became more animated and included humor that often focused on relationships between the men and their female partners. Jason and Bradley seemed to encourage Trevor to adopt attitudes and behaviors that differed significantly from his typical interaction style when we were alone together. "Marriage changes everything," Jason commented as we walked through the department store. "Amanda has learned that my career advancement benefits both of us, so she supports my professional priorities without creating unnecessary complications." Amanda smiled in response to this statement, though her expression suggested some discomfort with being characterized in such terms. Bradley added his perspective on relationship dynamics and professional success. "Nicole understands that my income and advancement potential are the primary factors that determine our lifestyle and future opportunities. Women need to recognize that supporting their partner's career is actually supporting their own interests." Nicole nodded agreement, though she appeared to be concentrating on her phone rather than actively engaging with the conversation. These comments created an atmosphere that made me increasingly uncomfortable, particularly as Trevor began adopting similar language and attitudes when discussing our relationship and my role in supporting his professional goals. The conversation gradually evolved to include more explicit criticism of women who allegedly failed to understand or support their partner's career ambitions. "Catherine has been fortunate that I've been patient with her career limitations," Trevor stated in a tone that suggested he was performing for his colleagues rather than expressing genuine sentiments. Her administrative position doesn't contribute significantly to our household income, but I've allowed her to maintain the job because it keeps her occupied and provides some minimal financial contribution. This characterization of my professional contributions shocked me, because it contradicted previous conversations we had regarding my work and its value to our household financial stability. Trevor had never previously described my income as minimal, or suggested that my employment was merely a form of occupation rather than meaningful professional activity. Jason and Bradley responded to Trevor's comments with laughter and additional observations about the supposed career limitations of their own partners. The conversation developed into a competitive dynamic where each man attempted to demonstrate superior authority within their respective relationships, through increasingly dismissive comments about their partner's professional capabilities and contributions. Women don't understand the pressure and responsibility that comes with real career advancement, Bradley declared. They focus on small details and personal feelings instead of recognizing the bigger picture of financial success and professional achievement. It's our responsibility as men to make the important decisions that determine family success. Amanda, Nicole, and I exchanged glances that conveyed mutual discomfort with the direction of this conversation, but none of us directly challenged the statements being made. The social pressure within the group dynamic seemed to discourage disagreement or alternative perspectives, creating an environment where these attitudes could be expressed without immediate confrontation. As the afternoon progressed, the comments became more personal and specifically targeted toward each woman's perceived shortcomings or limitations. Trevor, Jason, and Bradley seemed to be competing to demonstrate their dominance within their relationships through public criticism and dismissive humor directed at their partners. Catherine thinks her community college classes make her qualified to provide business advice, Trevor announced to the group. She doesn't understand that real business experience requires actual responsibility and decision-making authority, not academic theory from part-time evening classes. The other men laughed appreciatively at this characterization of my educational pursuits. The humiliation I experienced during these interactions was intensified by the public nature of the criticism and the apparent enjoyment that Trevor derived from diminishing my accomplishments in front of his colleagues. This behavior represented a significant departure from his usual treatment of me, suggesting that his attitudes had been influenced by prolonged exposure to his professional peer group. By 4 o'clock, Trevor had completed his wardrobe purchases and the group had decided to conclude the shopping expedition. The packages included 3 business suits, 8 dress shirts, 4 ties, leather shoes, a briefcase, and various accessories that represented a total investment of approximately $3,000 in professional attire. As we prepared to leave the shopping center, Trevor announced that he needed to retrieve the car from the parking garage and suggested that I wait with the packages near the main entrance while he completed this task. Jason and Bradley had offered to provide assistance with loading the purchases into our vehicle, creating what appeared to be a logical division of responsibilities. "Wait here with the bags," Trevor instructed as he handed me the shopping bags containing his purchases. "We'll bring the car around to the pickup area so we don't have to carry everything through the parking garage. This shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. The other couples had already departed for their respective vehicles, leaving me alone with the packages in the main concourse of the shopping center. 10 minutes passed without any sign of Trevor or his colleagues returning with our vehicle. I moved closer to the main entrance to improve visibility of the pickup area and ensure that I would notice their arrival immediately. The shopping bags were heavy and awkward to manage while standing for extended periods, but I assumed that parking garage traffic or some mechanical issue with the car was causing the delay. After 20 minutes, I began to feel concerned about the extended absence and considered calling Trevor's cell phone to inquire about the delay. However, I realized that my phone was in my purse, which was locked in the car along with our other personal belongings. Trevor had suggested leaving non-essential items in the vehicle to avoid carrying unnecessary weight during our shopping activities. 30 minutes passed before I began to seriously question whether something had gone wrong or whether Trevor might have forgotten that I was waiting for him. The main entrance area of the shopping center was busy with shoppers entering and leaving the facility, but I had not seen any sign of our Honda Accord or the vehicles belonging to Jason and Bradley. I approached the customer service desk to inquire about using their phone to contact Trevor, but was informed that the customer service phone was reserved for emergency use only and that public phones were available near the food court area. However, reaching the food court would require leaving my current position where Trevor expected to find me, creating the risk that we might miss each other if he arrived while I was away from the designated meeting location. 45 minutes after Trevor had departed to retrieve the car, I made the decision to walk through the parking garage to locate our vehicle and determine what had caused the extended delay. The shopping bags made this task difficult, but I was increasingly concerned that some emergency or mechanical problem had occurred that required immediate attention. The parking garage was vast and confusing, with multiple levels and sections that made systematic searching challenging. I spent 20 minutes walking through the area where I believed we had parked, examining vehicles and looking for any sign of Trevor or our Honda Accord. The physical exertion of carrying heavy shopping bags while searching the parking structure was exhausting and frustrating. After completing a thorough search of the parking garage without locating our vehicle or finding any evidence of mechanical problems or other issues that might explain Trevor's absence, I was forced to confront the possibility that he had intentionally left me at the shopping center. This realization created a sense of disbelief and confusion that made it difficult to process the situation objectively. I returned to the main entrance area and carefully examined the pickup zone to ensure that I had not somehow missed Trevor's arrival during my search of the parking garage. The reality of my situation began to crystallize as I acknowledged that more than an hour had passed since Trevor had departed to retrieve our car, with no communication or explanation for his absence. The contents of my small purse included $17 in cash, a single credit card with a $300 limit that Trevor monitored carefully, my driver's license, and a few personal items such as lip balm and tissues. My cell phone, house keys, and other essential items remained locked in our car, wherever Trevor had taken it. The shopping center was located approximately 30 miles from our home in Bellevue, making the distance too great for walking and creating the need for alternative transportation that exceeded my available financial resources. Taxi service to our residence would cost approximately $60, while public transportation would require multiple transfers and several hours of travel time. Standing alone in the main concourse of Westfield Shopping Center, surrounded by Trevor's shopping bags, and faced with the stark reality that my husband had deliberately abandoned me without money or transportation, I experienced a moment of devastating clarity about the true nature of our relationship and my complete dependency on his financial resources and decision-making authority. The humiliation, confusion, and fear that overwhelmed me in that moment would prove to be the catalyst for the most significant transformation of my entire life, though I could not have imagined such a possibility as I struggled to understand how the person I had trusted most had betrayed me so completely and deliberately. The harsh fluorescent lighting of Westfield Shopping Center seemed to intensify as the reality of my abandonment settled into undeniable truth. I stood frozen beside Trevor's shopping bags, watching families and couples move through the main concourse with purpose and destination, while I remained stranded without resources or options. The contrast between their normalcy and my desperate circumstances created a surreal sense of isolation that penetrated deeper than mere physical abandonment. My first instinct was to rationalize Trevor's absence through alternative explanations that preserved my understanding of our relationship. Perhaps he had experienced a medical emergency that prevented him from returning. Maybe Jason or Bradley had encountered problems that required immediate assistance. The Honda Accord might have suffered mechanical failure that left them unable to communicate their situation. These possibilities provided temporary psychological shelter from the devastating truth that my husband had deliberately orchestrated this abandonment. However, as minutes continued to pass without any form of communication or explanation, the forced optimism dissolved into confrontation with undeniable reality. Trevor had not forgotten about me or encountered unexpected difficulties. He had made a calculated decision to leave me stranded at the shopping center as some form of entertainment or demonstration of power that his colleagues would find amusing. The memory of their afternoon conversation replayed in my mind with new significance and clarity. Their dismissive comments about women's capabilities and intelligence had not been casual workplace humor, but expressions of genuine contempt. Trevor's participation in mocking my educational pursuits and professional contributions had been preparation for this ultimate demonstration of control and humiliation. Standing in that public space, surrounded by strangers conducting normal weekend activities, I experienced a profound awakening about the systematic erosion of my independence and self-determination that had occurred throughout our marriage. The financial arrangements that gave Trevor complete control over our accounts, The social isolation from my own friends and interests, the gradual diminishment of my opinions and aspirations had all been components of a deliberate strategy to ensure my complete dependency. The $17 in my wallet represented more than insufficient transportation funds. It symbolized the extent to which I had allowed my economic autonomy to be systematically eliminated. The credit card, with its minimal limit and constant monitoring, reflected my reduction to the status of a dependent rather than an equal partner. My inability to access my own home without Trevor's keys demonstrated how thoroughly I had surrendered control over my basic security and shelter. A security guard approached as I remained standing near the entrance with my growing pile of shopping bags, expressing concern about my prolonged presence in the pickup area. Officer James Washington was a tall, middle-aged African-American man whose professional demeanor combined authority with genuine concern for customer welfare. "Ma'am, you've been standing here for quite some time," Officer Washington observed. "Is there something I can help you with? Are you waiting for someone to pick you up?" His tone conveyed both professional responsibility and personal kindness that made me feel momentarily less alone in my crisis. Explaining my situation to a stranger required acknowledging aloud the humiliating reality that my husband had abandoned me at a shopping mall. The words felt surreal as I described Trevor's departure to retrieve our car, the extended absence without communication, and my discovery that he had apparently left the shopping center entirely. Officer Washington listened with patient attention that suggested he had encountered similar situations during his security career. His expression conveyed both sympathy for my immediate predicament and concern about the implications of deliberate abandonment by a spouse. "Mrs. Morgan, this kind of situation is more serious than a simple miscommunication," Officer Washington explained. "Deliberately stranding someone without resources or transportation can constitute a form of domestic abuse, especially when it's done to intimidate or demonstrate control. Have you experienced other incidents where your husband has threatened or controlled your ability to move freely?" Quote, "The question forced me to examine patterns of behavior that I had previously rationalized as personality quirks or temporary relationship challenges. Trevor's gradual assumption of control over our financial resources, his dismissive attitude toward my professional aspirations, his increasing criticism of my opinions and social contributions suddenly appeared as components of a systematic approach to maintaining dominance within our relationship. I never thought about it that way," I admitted to Officer Washington. "I assumed that his management of our finances was more efficient, and that his career advancement was our mutual priority. I didn't recognize these as control mechanisms until this moment." Officer Washington provided practical assistance by allowing me to use the security office phone to contact taxi services and explore transportation options. However, the cost of taxi service to Bellevue exceeded my available cash resources, and the credit card's low limit created uncertainty about whether the charge would be approved. While researching transportation alternatives, I remembered Professor William Rodriguez from my strategic business management class at Eastside Community College. Our academic relationship had developed beyond typical instructor-student interactions because of my consistent academic performance and genuine interest in business principles. Professor Rodriguez had frequently encouraged me to consider advanced education and professional development opportunities that could lead to management positions. "Catherine, you demonstrate analytical capabilities that exceed those of students with significantly more business experience," Professor Rodriguez had commented during our most recent class discussion. "Your approach to case study analysis reveals intuitive understanding of organizational dynamics and strategic thinking that suggests substantial leadership potential." These academic conversations had provided rare validation of my intellectual capabilities and professional potential during a period when such recognition was absent from my personal relationships. Professor Rodriguez had specifically suggested that I consider pursuing opportunities in business consulting or strategic planning, fields where my analytical skills could generate significant professional and financial success. The contrast between Professor Rodriguez's assessment of my capabilities and Trevor's dismissive attitude toward my professional potential created cognitive dissonance that I had previously avoided confronting directly. Now stranded and abandoned, I was forced to evaluate which perspective more accurately reflected my actual abilities and potential. Officer Washington observed my internal struggle and offered additional perspective based on his experience with similar situations. "Ma'am, I've worked in security for 15 years, and I've seen many people in circumstances similar to yours. What I've learned is that people who deliberately put others in vulnerable positions are usually threatened by those persons' strength and potential, not their weakness. This observation provided a framework for understanding Trevor's behavior that challenged my assumptions about the reasons for his increasing control and criticism. Rather than protecting me from professional challenges I could not handle, Trevor might have been preventing me from discovering capabilities that would threaten his position of authority within our relationship. Your husband left you here with his shopping bags, Officer Washington continued. He's treating you like a storage service rather than a partner. That tells me he doesn't understand or respect your actual value as a person. But the way you're handling this crisis, staying calm and thinking through your options, suggests you have more strength and resourcefulness than he realizes. The shopping bags containing Trevor's professional wardrobe served as physical reminders of the priorities that had defined our relationship. His career advancement and professional image had dominated our financial decisions, social activities, and future planning discussions. My role had been consistently defined as supportive and subordinate, with my own professional development deferred indefinitely to accommodate his immediate needs. However, my evening classes at Eastside Community College had revealed capabilities and interests that contradicted the limitations Trevor had imposed on my professional identity. My academic performance consistently exceeded that of classmates with greater business experience, and my analytical contributions to group projects had earned recognition from both instructors and fellow students. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the Dean of Student Services, had approached me several times about considering advancement opportunities within the college's administrative structure. These conversations had included specific discussion about positions in strategic planning and operational analysis that would utilize my analytical skills while providing substantially higher compensation than my current role. Catherine, we've observed your performance in both your administrative responsibilities and your academic coursework, Dr. Mitchell had explained during our most recent meeting. You demonstrate a rare combination of analytical capability and practical implementation skills that would be valuable in senior administrative positions. Have you considered completing your degree and pursuing advancement within higher education administration? These professional recognition experiences had provided glimpses of alternative futures where my capabilities would be valued and developed rather than dismissed and constrained. The encouragement from respected professionals contradicted Trevor's characterization of my limitations and suggested that my potential for professional success exceeded his assessment. Standing in the security office at Westfield Shopping Center, I experienced a moment of clarity that transcended my immediate transportation crisis. The abandonment that had initially seemed like devastating betrayal began to reveal itself as unexpected liberation from constraints that had prevented me from discovering my actual capabilities. The fear and humiliation that had dominated my initial emotional response gradually evolved into determination to prove that Trevor's assessment of my worth and potential was fundamentally incorrect. If he believed that I was helpless without his support and guidance, then I would demonstrate independence and success that exceeded his expectations and achievements. Professor Rodriguez had provided his business card during our last class meeting, suggesting that I contact him if I decided to pursue advanced educational opportunities or needed guidance regarding career development strategies. The card remained in my wallet, representing a connection to professional mentorship and academic support that existed independently of Trevor's approval or involvement. The decision to contact Professor Rodriguez for assistance represented more than solving my immediate transportation problem. It constituted a choice to reach beyond the constraints of my marriage and access resources that could support genuine professional development and personal growth. Using Officer Washington's phone, I dialed Professor Rodriguez's number with trembling hands, uncertain about how to explain my situation without revealing the humiliating details of my abandonment. However, Professor Rodriguez's response to my request for assistance demonstrated the professional respect and personal concern that had characterized our academic relationship. Catherine, of course I can help you get home safely, Professor Rodriguez responded immediately. I'm currently at the university reviewing applications for our executive MBA program, but I can drive to Westfield and provide transportation to Bellevue. This shouldn't be a problem at all. His willingness to interrupt his weekend activities to assist a student in crisis provided stark contrast to Trevor's deliberate creation of crisis for his wife's humiliation. The comparison highlighted fundamental differences in how these two men viewed relationships, responsibility, and mutual support. While waiting for Professor Rodriguez's arrival, I used the time to examine my situation from strategic perspectives that reflected analytical approaches I had learned through my business management coursework. Rather than viewing my abandonment as evidence of personal inadequacy, I began to evaluate it as information about Trevor's character and the viability of our relationship. The systematic nature of Trevor's control mechanisms, his participation in group humiliation activities, and his willingness to create genuine danger for my safety indicated patterns of behavior that were unlikely to improve through communication or relationship counseling. These were not temporary stresses related to professional pressure, but fundamental character traits that would continue to manifest in increasingly severe forms. My academic coursework had included extensive study of organizational leadership and management principles that emphasized the importance of recognizing toxic environments and developing strategies for professional advancement in challenging circumstances. The same analytical frameworks that applied to business situations could be adapted to evaluate personal relationships and life decisions. The realization that I possessed transferable skills and knowledge that could generate professional success outside my current circumstances created possibilities that had not existed in my thinking before this crisis. My educational achievements, professional recognition, and demonstrated analytical capabilities represented resources that could support independent decision-making and career development. Professor Rodriguez arrived at Westfield Shopping Center within 45 minutes, locating me in the security office where Officer Washington had provided continued support and professional guidance. The relief I experienced upon seeing a familiar face who treated me with respect and concern was overwhelming and emotional. "Catherine, are you injured or in immediate danger?" Professor Rodriguez asked upon his arrival. "Officer Washington explained that you've been stranded here, but I want to ensure that you're physically safe before we address the transportation issue." His immediate concern for my welfare and safety contrasted sharply with Trevor's deliberate creation of unsafe circumstances. The comparison reinforced my growing understanding that Trevor's behavior represented a fundamental character problem rather than temporary relationship stress. During the drive from Westfield Shopping Center to my home in Bellevue, Professor Rodriguez provided perspective on my situation that challenged my assumptions about appropriate responses to crisis and betrayal. His approach combined practical problem-solving with strategic thinking about long-term implications and opportunities. "Catherine, what happened to you today reveals important information about your circumstances that you'll need to evaluate carefully," Professor Rodriguez explained as we drove through Seattle traffic. "This wasn't a misunderstanding or accident. This was a deliberate demonstration of control that suggests your husband views you as property rather than as a partner." The directness of his assessment forced me to confront realities that I had been avoiding through rationalization and denial. Trevor's behavior could not be explained away as temporary stress or misunderstanding. It represented calculated cruelty designed to reinforce my dependency and his authority. "However," Professor Rodriguez continued, "your response to this crisis demonstrates capabilities that your husband apparently doesn't recognize or appreciate. You remained calm under pressure, identified available resources, developed alternative solutions, and made strategic decisions about who to contact for assistance. These are executive-level problem-solving skills." This analysis of my crisis management approach provided a framework for understanding my abandonment as an opportunity to demonstrate capabilities rather than evidence of limitations. Instead of confirming my dependency, the experience had revealed resourcefulness and strategic thinking that suggested potential for independent success. "You have choices to make about your future," Professor Rodriguez concluded as we approached my neighborhood. "But I want you to understand that you have capabilities and options that extend far beyond your current circumstances. What happened today doesn't define your limitations. It reveals your strength." Professor William Rodriguez possessed the rare combination of academic excellence and practical business experience that distinguished exceptional educators from merely competent instructors. At 52 years old, he had successfully transitioned from a distinguished career as a management consultant for Fortune 500 companies to his current position as Director of Business Strategy Programs at Eastside Community College. His office reflected this dual expertise, featuring both scholarly publications, and corporate achievement awards that demonstrated his credibility in both academic and professional environments. The drive from Westfield Shopping Center to my residence in Bellevue provided an extended opportunity for conversation that revealed the depth of Professor Rodriguez's understanding regarding organizational dynamics, strategic planning, and human resource development. His questions about my situation demonstrated analytical thinking that approached personal crisis with the same systematic methodology he applied to complex business challenges. Catherine, I need to understand the broader context of what happened today before we can develop appropriate response strategies, Professor Rodriguez explained as we navigated Saturday evening traffic through downtown Seattle. This abandonment incident appears to be part of a larger pattern of controlling behavior that has implications beyond transportation inconvenience. Can you describe the progression of how decision-making authority has been distributed within your marriage? This question required me to examine my relationship with Trevor through analytical frameworks rather than emotional responses. The systematic approach Professor Rodriguez encouraged helped me recognize patterns that had developed gradually over our 4 years of marriage, making them difficult to identify without external perspective and structured evaluation. Trevor assumed control of our financial accounts during our first year of marriage, I began, recognizing for the first time how this fundamental shift had established the foundation for subsequent control mechanisms. He explained that his business education and professional experience made him better qualified to manage our household finances and long-term planning activities. I accepted this arrangement because it seemed logical and efficient. Professor Rodriguez nodded with understanding that suggested familiarity with such arrangements and their long-term implications. Financial control represents the foundation of most systematic dependency relationships, he observed. When one partner controls access to resources, they effectively control the other partner's ability to make independent decisions or pursue alternative options. This creates vulnerability that can be exploited through various forms of manipulation. The academic framework he provided for understanding my situation helped reduce the emotional intensity that made objective analysis difficult. Rather than viewing my circumstances through personal failure or individual inadequacy, I could evaluate them as examples of organizational power structures and strategic positioning that occurred frequently in various professional and personal contexts. The abandonment incident today represents escalation in a control strategy that has been developing systematically, Professor Rodriguez continued. Your husband demonstrated that he can create crisis situations for you while maintaining his own comfort and security. This type of power demonstration typically occurs when the controlling party perceives threats to their authority. This analysis suggested that Trevor's increasingly critical and dismissive behavior might have resulted from recognition of my growing capabilities and confidence rather than disappointment with my limitations. The academic validation I had received through my coursework and the professional recognition from supervisors at Eastside Community College might have triggered defensive responses designed to reinforce my dependency. Your performance in strategic business management has been exceptional, Professor Rodriguez continued. Your analytical contributions consistently exceed those of students with significantly more professional experience. Your case study presentations demonstrate intuitive understanding of complex organizational dynamics that suggests natural leadership capabilities. These abilities represent threats to anyone who benefits from your current subordinate position. The contrast between Professor Rodriguez's assessment of my capabilities and Trevor's characterization of my limitations created cognitive clarity that had been obscured by emotional attachment and social conditioning. The systematic dismissal of my potential that had characterized Trevor's recent behavior could be understood as strategic suppression rather than accurate evaluation. As we approached my neighborhood in Bellevue, Professor Rodriguez shifted the conversation toward practical considerations regarding my immediate safety and long-term planning requirements. His approach demonstrated the comprehensive thinking that distinguished strategic planning from crisis reaction, addressing both immediate necessities and broader implications of current circumstances. Catherine, you need to understand that what happened today crosses legal boundaries regarding domestic abuse and abandonment, Professor Rodriguez explained with professional seriousness. Deliberately stranding someone without resources or transportation constitutes criminal behavior in Washington state. You have grounds for legal action if you choose to pursue such options. This information provided perspectives on my situation that extended beyond personal relationship dynamics to include legal protections and social resources designed to address systematic abuse and control. The recognition that Trevor's behavior constituted criminal activity rather than relationship stress offered validation that my emotional responses were appropriate and justified. However, legal action represents only one category of available responses, Professor Rodriguez continued. Your demonstrated analytical capabilities and academic performance suggest that you possess resources for creating independent success that could provide more comprehensive solutions than legal remedies alone. The question becomes whether you want to pursue defensive strategies or offensive opportunities. The distinction between defensive and offensive approaches to my crisis provided a framework for strategic thinking that transcended immediate emotional responses. Rather than simply protecting myself from Trevor's control mechanisms, I could develop plans for achieving independent success that would eliminate his ability to create such crises in the future. Upon arriving at my residence, Professor Rodriguez insisted on ensuring my immediate safety before departing. He accompanied me to the front door and waited while I retrieved my spare key from its concealed location, confirming that I could access my home without depending on Trevor's return. This practical concern for my welfare demonstrated the professional courtesy and personal consideration that had characterized our academic relationship. I want you to have my personal contact information, Professor Rodriguez said as he prepared to leave. If you experience any additional safety concerns or need assistance with practical matters, please contact me immediately. You should not have to navigate this crisis alone, and you have professional relationships that can provide support during this transition period. The house felt strange and unfamiliar after the day's events, despite being the residence I had occupied for 3 years. Trevor's absence created an atmosphere that emphasized my isolation, while simultaneously providing freedom from the tension and criticism that had increasingly characterized our interactions. The silence offered opportunity for reflection and planning without external pressure or judgment. I spent the evening reviewing materials from my strategic business management course, focusing particularly on case studies that addressed organizational transformation and leadership development during crisis periods. The academic frameworks provided structure for analyzing my personal situation with the same systematic methodology I applied to business challenges in classroom discussions. The financial reality of my circumstances required immediate attention and strategic planning. My personal savings account contained approximately $800 that I had accumulated through careful management of my monthly allowance from Trevor. The checking account access required Trevor's authorization for withdrawals exceeding $50, effectively limiting my financial independence to minimal daily expenses. My employment at Eastside Community College provided stable income and benefits, but the compensation level would not support independent housing and living expenses without significant lifestyle adjustments. The part-time status of my position reflected accommodations I had made to support Trevor's career priorities, limiting my earning potential and professional advancement opportunities. However, my academic coursework had revealed capabilities and interests that suggested potential for substantially increased earning capacity through strategic career development. Professor Rodriguez had frequently mentioned consulting opportunities and advanced positions that utilized analytical skills and strategic thinking abilities, fields where compensation levels exceeded my current income by significant margins. Sunday morning arrived with unprecedented clarity regarding the decisions I needed to make about my future. Trevor had not returned home or attempted to contact me, confirming that his abandonment had been deliberate rather than accidental. His absence provided time and space for developing plans without interference or manipulation. I contacted Professor Rodriguez to request a meeting where we could discuss practical strategies for transitioning from my current circumstances to independent professional success. His immediate agreement to meet on Sunday afternoon demonstrated his genuine commitment to supporting student development beyond typical academic responsibilities. Catherine, I've been thinking about your situation since yesterday, Professor Rodriguez began when we met in his office at Eastside Community College. You're facing what business strategists call a forcing function, a crisis that compels immediate decision-making and action. These situations often provide opportunities for breakthrough achievements that wouldn't occur under normal circumstances. This business perspective on my personal crisis provided frameworks for strategic thinking that transcended emotional responses and social expectations. Rather than viewing my abandonment as evidence of personal failure, I could understand it as a catalyst for professional and personal development that had been constrained by my previous circumstances. Your academic performance indicates capabilities that could generate substantial professional success in management consulting, strategic planning, or business analysis, Professor Rodriguez continued. These fields offer compensation levels that would support complete financial independence while utilizing your analytical strengths and leadership potential. The transition from my current administrative position to professional consulting would require completing my bachelor's degree and developing specific technical skills that enhanced my marketability to potential clients or employers. Professor Rodriguez outlined accelerated degree completion options and professional certification programs that could position me for advanced opportunities within 12 to 18 months. I want to propose a specific development pathway that addresses both your immediate needs and long-term professional goals, Professor Rodriguez explained as he presented detailed planning documents. Eastside Community College has partnerships with several consulting firms that provide internship opportunities for advanced students. These positions offer practical experience while generating income that exceeds your current compensation. The consulting internship opportunities represented immediate paths toward financial independence and professional development that could begin within weeks rather than months. The application process required portfolio development and interview preparation, areas where Professor Rodriguez offered to provide direct mentoring and support. Additionally, I serve on the advisory board for Northwest Strategic Solutions, a management consulting firm that specializes in organizational development and business process improvement, Professor Rodriguez continued. The managing partner, Elizabeth Harrison, has specifically mentioned interest in recruiting analysts with strong academic backgrounds and fresh perspectives on business challenges. This connection provided access to professional opportunities that would have been impossible to identify or pursue without mentorship and strategic guidance. The introduction to Elizabeth Harrison represented advancement potential that could accelerate my career development beyond conventional progression timelines. I'm prepared to arrange an introduction meeting with Elizabeth if you're serious about pursuing consulting opportunities, Professor Rodriguez offered. However, this pathway requires complete commitment to professional development and personal growth. You would need to approach this transition with the same analytical rigor and strategic thinking you've demonstrated in our coursework. The opportunity to meet with a senior consultant represented validation of my professional potential that contradicted every limitation Trevor had imposed on my career aspirations. The possibility of achieving financial independence through utilization of my analytical capabilities provided concrete alternatives to dependency and subordination. There's another consideration that we need to address directly, Professor Rodriguez continued with professional seriousness. Your husband's behavior yesterday suggests that he will not support your professional advancement or educational goals. In fact, he may actively attempt to sabotage your progress if he perceives your success as threatening to his control. You need to be prepared for resistance and potential escalation as you pursue independence. This warning provided realistic assessment of challenges I would face while pursuing professional development within my current living situation. Trevor's reaction to my absence and potential success could include financial sabotage, social manipulation, or escalated control mechanisms designed to prevent my advancement. However, your demonstrated resilience and problem-solving capabilities suggest that you can navigate these challenges successfully, Professor Rodriguez concluded. The same analytical skills that enabled you to handle yesterday's crisis can be applied to developing comprehensive strategies for achieving professional and personal independence. The meeting concluded with specific action items including portfolio development, interview preparation, and introduction scheduling with Elizabeth Harrison at Northwest Strategic Solutions. Professor Rodriguez provided additional resources including professional development books, industry publications, and networking event information that would accelerate my preparation for consulting opportunities. Catherine, I want you to understand that what happened yesterday, while traumatic, may prove to be the catalyst for achieving success that exceeds anything you previously imagined possible, Professor Rodriguez stated as our meeting concluded. Your capabilities have been systematically underutilized and suppressed. This crisis provides opportunity to discover and develop your actual potential. The drive home from Eastside Community College provided time for processing the dramatic shift in possibilities that had emerged from yesterday's abandonment. Rather than being diminished by Trevor's cruelty, I was discovering opportunities for professional advancement that could transform my life more completely than I had ever considered possible. The house remained empty when I returned, confirming that Trevor's abandonment had been permanent rather than temporary punishment. His absence eliminated immediate obstacles to pursuing professional development, while creating urgency regarding financial independence and housing security. I spent Sunday evening developing preliminary portfolio materials and researching Northwest strategic solutions to prepare for the introduction meeting with Elizabeth Harrison. The consulting firm's client list included major corporations throughout the Pacific Northwest, and their case studies demonstrated the type of analytical work that aligned perfectly with my interests and capabilities. The contrast between yesterday's humiliation and today's possibilities illustrated the transformative potential that could emerge from crisis circumstances when approached with strategic thinking and professional support. Trevor's attempt to demonstrate my helplessness had inadvertently revealed resources and capabilities that provided foundations for achievements beyond his comprehension or control. As I prepared for bed on Sunday evening, I reflected on the dramatic change in perspective that had occurred within 48 hours. The woman who had been abandoned at Westfield Shopping Center possessed different aspirations and possibilities than the woman who was now planning a career in management consulting with mentorship from respected professionals and access to opportunities at established firms. The abandonment that had initially seemed like devastating betrayal was revealing itself as liberation from constraints that had prevented me from discovering my actual potential. Trevor's assessment of my limitations was proving to be fundamentally incorrect, and his loss of control over my circumstances would soon become irreversible as I pursued independence through professional success rather than continued dependency. Monday morning arrived with the weight of irrevocable decisions that would determine the trajectory of my professional and personal future. Trevor had not returned to our residence, confirming that his abandonment represented a permanent departure rather than temporary punishment. His absence eliminated the immediate pressure of confrontation, while creating urgent necessity for establishing financial independence and housing security within a compressed time frame. The realization that I possessed approximately 72 hours to transform theoretical planning into concrete action created focus and determination that transcended the emotional turmoil of the previous weekend. Professor Rodriguez had scheduled my introduction meeting with Elizabeth Harrison at Northwest Strategic Solutions for Wednesday afternoon, providing a specific deadline for portfolio completion and interview preparation activities. My morning routine at Eastside Community College required careful navigation of professional responsibilities, while managing personal crisis circumstances that could potentially affect my job performance. Dr. Sarah Mitchell observed my demeanor during our regular Monday morning coordination meeting and expressed concern about my appearance and focus levels. "Catherine, you seem distracted this morning," Dr. Mitchell noted with the professional concern that characterized her management approach. "Is there anything affecting your work situation that we should discuss? Your performance has been consistently excellent, and I want to ensure that any personal challenges receive appropriate support and accommodation." The opportunity to discuss my circumstances with Dr. Mitchell presented possibilities for leveraging existing professional relationships to support my transition toward independence. Her position as Dean of Student Services provided access to institutional resources and advancement opportunities that could supplement the consulting pathway Professor Rodriguez had outlined. "I'm currently navigating significant changes in my personal circumstances that require career development decisions," I explained, choosing language that conveyed seriousness without revealing details that might compromise my professional reputation. "I'm exploring opportunities for advancement that would utilize my analytical capabilities more extensively and provide increased compensation to support independent living arrangements." Dr. Mitchell's response demonstrated the professional recognition and institutional support that had been developing throughout my employment at Eastside Community College. Her assessment of my capabilities aligned closely with Professor Rodriguez's evaluation, providing additional validation of my potential for achieving substantial professional success. "Catherine, we've been observing your performance in both administrative and academic capacities for several years," Dr. Mitchell replied with professional directness. Your analytical contributions have consistently exceeded expectations, and your strategic thinking abilities suggest readiness for advancement to senior administrative positions within higher education or transition to private sector consulting opportunities. This institutional recognition provided confidence for pursuing aggressive career development strategies while maintaining my current position as financial security during the transition period. Dr. Mitchell offered flexible scheduling arrangements that would accommodate interview activities and professional development commitments without compromising my current responsibilities. Additionally, I want you to know that Eastside Community College has consulting contracts with several private firms that require educational expertise and analytical capabilities, Dr. Mitchell continued. If you're interested in exploring consulting opportunities, I can provide introductions to established professionals who utilize freelance analysts for specific projects. The expansion of professional networking opportunities beyond Professor Rodriguez's connections demonstrated how strategic relationship development could accelerate career advancement through multiple simultaneous pathways. Dr. Mitchell's offer to facilitate additional introductions provided backup options that reduced dependence on any single opportunity while increasing probability of successful transition. The remainder of Monday was dedicated to intensive portfolio development activities that showcased my analytical capabilities and strategic thinking through concrete examples drawn from my academic coursework and professional experience. The portfolio needed to demonstrate competency levels that justified hiring decisions and compensation expectations that would support independent living circumstances. Professor Rodriguez had provided specific guidance regarding portfolio structure and content requirements that aligned with industry standards for management consulting applications. The materials needed to include case study analyses, strategic recommendations, data analysis examples, and evidence of leadership capabilities that distinguished exceptional candidates from merely qualified applicants. My academic work in strategic business management provided substantial material for demonstrating analytical capabilities through detailed case study evaluations that revealed systematic thinking and comprehensive problem-solving approaches. The assignments had required evaluation of complex organizational challenges and development of strategic recommendations that addressed multiple stakeholder interests and operational constraints. One particularly comprehensive case study had focused on organizational restructuring for a manufacturing company experiencing declining profitability due to increased competition and operational inefficiencies. My analysis had identified specific cost reduction opportunities, revenue enhancement strategies, and management structure modifications that could restore profitability while maintaining workforce stability and customer satisfaction levels. The strategic recommendations had included quantitative analysis of financial impact projections, implementation timeline development, and risk assessment considerations that demonstrated practical understanding of business operations beyond theoretical knowledge. Professor Rodriguez had characterized this work as exemplifying consulting quality analysis that exceeded typical academic expectations. Additional portfolio components included data analysis projects that showcased technical capabilities with spreadsheet modeling, statistical analysis, and presentation development skills that were essential for consulting effectiveness. These materials demonstrated proficiency with analytical tools and communication techniques that enabled translation of complex analysis into actionable recommendations for executive decision-making. Tuesday morning brought unexpected communication from Trevor through a text message that revealed his perspective on the weekend's events and his expectations regarding our relationship's future direction. The message provided insight into his strategic thinking while confirming the necessity of pursuing complete independence rather than attempting reconciliation or relationship repair. Catherine, I hope you learned something important about your place in our relationship this weekend. The message began with language that revealed his perception of the abandonment as educational rather than abusive. Jason and Bradley helped me realize that I've been too accommodating of your career fantasies and unrealistic expectations about partnership equality. The terminology he employed demonstrated fundamental misunderstanding of appropriate relationship dynamics, while revealing the influence that his colleagues had exercised over his attitudes and behavior patterns. The characterization of my professional aspirations as fantasies indicated complete dismissal of my demonstrated capabilities and academic achievements. You can return to our normal arrangement when you're ready to acknowledge that my career advancement benefits both of us more than your part-time job and community college classes. The message continued. I'll be staying with Jason until you're prepared to discuss our relationship with appropriate perspective and realistic expectations about your role. The conditional nature of his offer to resume our relationship demonstrated his expectation that I would capitulate to increased control and subordination rather than pursuing independent alternatives. Trevor's assumption that I lacked resources for independence revealed his underestimation of my capabilities and professional relationships. The message concluded with specific demands regarding financial arrangements and household responsibilities that would have eliminated any remaining autonomy or decision-making authority. When you come home, we'll need to discuss modifications to our financial arrangement that reflect your actual contribution level and ensure better alignment with our advancement priorities. Rather than creating incentive for reconciliation, Trevor's communication reinforced the necessity of achieving complete independence through professional success that would eliminate any vulnerability to his control mechanisms. His demands provided clarity regarding the scope of subordination he expected, making the choice between dependency and independence unmistakable. I forwarded Trevor's message to Professor Rodriguez, with a request for perspective on appropriate responses and strategic considerations for managing this communication while pursuing professional opportunities. His analysis provided frameworks for understanding Trevor's behavior, while maintaining focus on advancement objectives. Catherine, this message reveals several important strategic considerations. Professor Rodriguez responded during our Tuesday afternoon meeting. Your husband's language indicates that he views the abandonment as successful intimidation that will result in increased compliance and control. He expects you to return to the relationship with diminished autonomy and expanded subordination. The analysis confirmed my assessment of Trevor's expectations while providing strategic guidance for managing his reaction to my pursuit of independence. Professor Rodriguez emphasized the importance of avoiding engagement with manipulation tactics while maintaining focus on professional development activities that would establish irreversible financial independence. More importantly, his message demonstrates fundamental misunderstanding of your capabilities and professional potential, Professor Rodriguez continued. His dismissal of your academic achievements and career prospects indicates that he will not recognize or acknowledge your success until it becomes impossible to ignore. This creates strategic advantage because he will not attempt to interfere with progress he doesn't believe you can achieve. This perspective reframed Trevor's dismissive attitude as unintentional assistance rather than obstacle to advancement. His underestimation of my potential would prevent him from recognizing threats to his control until my independence became established and irreversible. Wednesday morning arrived with final preparation activities for the introduction meeting with Elizabeth Harrison at Northwest Strategic Solutions. The interview represented the culmination of strategic planning and professional development that had been compressed into 3 days of intensive effort following the weekend's crisis. Professor Rodriguez accompanied me to the Northwest Strategic Solutions offices in downtown Seattle, providing moral support and professional credibility that enhanced my positioning as a serious candidate rather than desperate job seeker. His introduction to Elizabeth Harrison emphasized my academic achievements and analytical capabilities while establishing appropriate context for the meeting. Northwest Strategic Solutions occupied an entire floor of a modern office building with panoramic views of Elliott Bay and the Olympic Mountains. The professional environment reflected the caliber of clients and projects that the firm managed, creating an atmosphere of serious business analysis and strategic planning that aligned perfectly with my career aspirations. Elizabeth Harrison possessed the executive presence and analytical sophistication that characterized successful management consultants. At 43 years old, she had built Northwest Strategic Solutions from a solo practice to a 30-person firm that served Fortune 500 clients throughout the western United States. Her professional background included senior positions at McKinsey & Company and extensive experience in organizational development and strategic planning. Catherine, Professor Rodriguez has provided compelling assessment of your analytical capabilities and strategic thinking abilities. Elizabeth began as we settled into her office conference area. I've reviewed your portfolio materials, and the quality of analysis demonstrates consulting-level competency that typically requires several years of professional development to achieve. This immediate recognition of my capabilities provided confidence that transcended the intimidation of interviewing for positions that exceeded my current experience level. Elizabeth's assessment validated the strategic decision to pursue aggressive career advancement rather than gradual progression through conventional channels. Our firm requires analysts who can work independently on complex organizational challenges while maintaining client relationships and project management responsibilities, Elizabeth continued. The learning curve is steep, but the compensation and advancement opportunities reflect the demanding nature of the work. Are you prepared for that level of professional intensity? The question addressed fundamental readiness for transformation from administrative support to strategic consulting, requiring honest assessment of my capabilities and commitment levels. The opportunity represented exactly the type of challenge that would demonstrate my potential while generating financial independence within months rather than years. I understand that consulting requires capabilities that exceed my current experience level, I responded with professional directness. However, my academic performance and analytical contributions demonstrate learning ability and strategic thinking that suggest strong potential for success in this environment. I'm prepared to make whatever commitment is necessary to establish credibility and achieve professional objectives. Elizabeth's evaluation process included detailed discussion of specific consulting methodologies, client management approaches, and project execution standards that would define my responsibilities and performance expectations. The conversation revealed the comprehensive nature of consulting work while confirming that my analytical strengths aligned well with the firm's service offerings. I'm prepared to offer you a position as associate consultant, with a starting salary of $75,000 annually, plus performance bonuses that typically increase total compensation to approximately $90,000 during the first year, Elizabeth announced, after 2 hours of evaluation and discussion. The compensation offer exceeded my current income by nearly 150%, while providing advancement potential that could generate six-figure earnings within 24 months. The financial transformation would establish complete independence while creating resources for continued education and professional development. Additionally, Northwest Strategic Solutions provides comprehensive benefits including health insurance, retirement contributions, and professional development allowances that support continued education and certification activities, Elizabeth continued. We expect our consultants to pursue advanced credentials and maintain industry knowledge that enhances their value to clients and the firm. The employment offer represented transformation that exceeded every constraint Trevor had imposed on my professional development, while providing financial resources that eliminated vulnerability to his control mechanisms. The decision to accept required acknowledging that this choice would make reconciliation impossible, while committing to professional standards that demanded excellence and continuous improvement. I accept your offer, I responded with certainty that reflected complete commitment to pursuing this opportunity regardless of personal consequences or relationship implications. When would you like me to begin, and what preparation activities should I complete before my start date? Quote, Elizabeth's satisfaction with my acceptance demonstrated her confidence in the hiring decision while establishing expectations for immediate contribution and rapid learning that would justify the substantial compensation investment. The start date was scheduled for the following Monday, providing exactly 1 week for transitioning from my current position and establishing practical arrangements for independent living. The drive back to Eastside Community College with Professor Rodriguez provided opportunity for processing the magnitude of change that had occurred within 4 days of Trevor's abandonment. The consulting position represented complete transformation of my professional identity, while creating financial resources that exceeded anything I had previously considered achievable. Catherine, you've just committed to a career path that will demonstrate capabilities you've never had opportunity to develop fully, Professor Rodriguez observed as we discussed the implications of my decision. This position will require performance levels that exceed your current experience, but your analytical strengths and learning abilities suggest strong potential for exceptional success. The warning about performance requirements emphasized the demanding nature of consulting work while acknowledging my potential for meeting those standards. The transition would require intensive learning and professional development that tested every capability while providing unprecedented opportunities for achievement and advancement. More importantly, you've established financial independence that eliminates vulnerability to manipulation and control, Professor Rodriguez continued. Your husband's attempt to use abandonment as intimidation has inadvertently catalyzed professional advancement that makes his approval or disapproval irrelevant to your future success. This strategic assessment confirmed that Trevor's miscalculation had created opportunities for transformation that would not have occurred under normal circumstances. His assumption that I lacked resources for independence had prevented him from recognizing or interfering with advancement possibilities that were now becoming irreversible reality. The remainder of Wednesday was dedicated to resignation activities at Eastside Community College, and preliminary arrangements for independent housing that would support my transition to consulting work. Dr. Mitchell accepted my resignation with professional understanding while expressing disappointment about losing a valued team member. Catherine, this advancement opportunity represents exactly the type of career development that demonstrates the value of continued education and professional growth, Dr. Mitchell commented during our transition meeting. Your success will serve as inspiration for other administrative staff who may be considering similar advancement pathways. The positive response from institutional leadership provided validation of my decision while establishing professional references that would support future advancement opportunities. The relationships developed at Eastside Community College would continue to provide networking resources and professional credibility throughout my consulting career. Thursday morning brought the reality of permanent separation from Trevor, as I began practical arrangements for establishing independent residence and managing the transition to consulting work. His continued absence confirmed that our relationship had concluded permanently, eliminating any possibility of reconciliation or collaborative problem-solving regarding our shared financial obligations. The apartment search process revealed housing options that would support professional image requirements while remaining within reasonable budget parameters based on my new compensation level. The ability to secure quality housing without roommates or compromises represented tangible evidence of the financial independence that consulting work would provide. As I signed the lease agreement for a modern one-bedroom apartment in Bellevue with convenient access to Seattle's business district, I recognized that this signature represented the final step in crossing the threshold from dependency to independence. The woman who had been abandoned at Westfield Shopping Center no longer existed, replaced by a professional consultant with resources and capabilities that exceeded any limitations Trevor had attempted to impose. The transformation that had begun with humiliation and abandonment was revealing itself as liberation from constraints that had prevented me from discovering my actual potential. Trevor's cruel demonstration of control had inadvertently provided the catalyst for achieving success that would soon make his assessment of my worth appear fundamentally mistaken and irrelevant. Monday morning at Northwest Strategic Solutions began with comprehensive orientation activities that established performance expectations and introduced analytical methodologies that would define my consulting responsibilities. The professional environment demanded immediate adaptation to accelerated learning processes and complex problem-solving approaches that exceeded anything I had encountered during my academic or administrative experience. Elizabeth Harrison conducted the orientation personally, emphasizing the critical importance of maintaining client confidence and delivering analysis that justified the premium fees that management consulting commanded in the marketplace. Her approach combined professional mentorship with clear accountability standards that would measure my success through concrete deliverables and measurable client outcomes. Associate consultants at Northwest Strategic Solutions are expected to function independently on complex organizational challenges from their first week of employment, Elizabeth explained as we reviewed my initial project assignments. The learning curve requires rapid assimilation of industry knowledge, client management skills, and analytical techniques that typically develop over several years of professional experience. The immediate assignment involved comprehensive operational analysis for Cascade Manufacturing, a mid-sized aerospace components producer that had engaged Northwest Strategic Solutions to identify cost reduction opportunities and operational efficiency improvements. The project required detailed examination of their production processes, supply chain management, and workforce utilization patterns to develop strategic recommendations that could restore profitability without compromising quality standards. This client represents exactly the type of analytical challenge that distinguishes consulting work from academic case studies, Elizabeth continued as she provided background materials and previous analysis reports. Cascade Manufacturing has real financial pressures, competitive threats, and operational constraints that require practical solutions rather than theoretical recommendations. The transition from academic analysis to client-facing consulting work required immediate adjustment to performance standards that demanded accuracy, timeliness, and strategic thinking that directly influenced business operations and employment stability for hundreds of workers. The responsibility created pressure that exceeded anything I had experienced while simultaneously providing opportunities to demonstrate capabilities under professional conditions. My first day at Cascade Manufacturing revealed the complexity of organizational challenges that consulting work addressed. The facility encompassed over 200,000 square feet of manufacturing space, with specialized equipment, skilled technicians, and production processes that required deep understanding of aerospace industry standards and quality requirements. Operations Manager Robert Chen provided comprehensive facility tours and explained production workflows that had evolved over 15 years of growth and adaptation to changing market conditions. His willingness to share detailed operational information demonstrated trust in Northwest Strategic Solutions, while creating responsibility for delivering analysis that justified that confidence. We've been experiencing declining profit margins over the past 18 months despite maintaining consistent production volumes and meeting all customer delivery requirements, Robert explained as we examined production line operations. Senior management believes we have operational inefficiencies that consulting analysis can identify and eliminate without disrupting our quality standards. The challenge required systematic examination of every aspect of their operations to identify specific areas where cost reduction or efficiency improvements could be implemented, without compromising their reputation for precision manufacturing. The analysis demanded both detailed data collection and strategic thinking about interconnected systems that affected multiple operational outcomes. My analytical approach began with comprehensive data gathering that included production metrics, labor utilization patterns, supply chain costs, and quality control measurements that provided quantitative foundation for identifying improvement opportunities. The process required coordination with department managers, production supervisors, and financial analysts who possessed specialized knowledge about different operational components. The data collection process revealed the demanding nature of consulting work that required managing multiple information sources while maintaining professional relationships with client personnel who had varying levels of cooperation and transparency. Some managers provided comprehensive information and analytical support, while others demonstrated resistance to external evaluation and potential operational changes. Production supervisor Maria Rodriguez became an invaluable resource who understood both technical manufacturing requirements and practical workforce management challenges that affected operational efficiency. Her insights provided context for data interpretation, while revealing improvement opportunities that purely quantitative analysis might have overlooked. Her approach combined professional mentorship with clear accountability standards that would measure my success through concrete deliverables and measurable client outcomes. Associate consultants at Northwest Strategic Solutions are expected to function independently on complex organizational challenges from their first week of employment, Elizabeth explained as we reviewed my initial project assignments. The learning curve requires rapid assimilation of industry knowledge, client management skills, and analytical techniques that typically develop over several years of professional experience. The immediate assignment involved comprehensive operational analysis for Cascade Manufacturing, a mid-sized aerospace components producer that had engaged Northwest Strategic Solutions to identify cost reduction opportunities and operational efficiency improvements. The project required detailed examination of their production processes, supply chain management, and workforce utilization patterns to develop strategic recommendations that could restore profitability without compromising quality standards. This client represents exactly the type of analytical challenge that distinguishes consulting work from academic case studies, Elizabeth continued as she provided background materials and previous analysis reports. Cascade Manufacturing has real financial pressures, competitive threats, and operational constraints that require practical solutions rather than theoretical recommendations. The transition from academic analysis to client-facing consulting work required immediate adjustment to performance standards that demanded accuracy, timeliness, and strategic thinking that directly influenced business operations and employment stability for hundreds of workers. The responsibility created pressure that exceeded anything I had experienced while simultaneously providing opportunities to demonstrate capabilities under professional conditions. My first day at Cascade Manufacturing revealed the complexity of organizational challenges that consulting work addressed. The facility encompassed over 200,000 square feet of manufacturing space with specialized equipment, skilled technicians, and production processes that required deep understanding of aerospace industry standards and quality requirements. Operations Manager Robert Chen provided comprehensive facility tours and explained production workflows that had evolved over 15 years of growth and adaptation to changing market conditions. His willingness to share detailed operational information demonstrated trust in Northwest Strategic Solutions, while creating responsibility for delivering analysis that justified that confidence. We've been experiencing declining profit margins over the past 18 months, despite maintaining consistent production volumes and meeting all customer delivery requirements, Robert explained as we examined production line operations. Senior management believes we have operational inefficiencies that consulting analysis can identify and eliminate without disrupting our quality standards. The challenge required systematic examination of every aspect of their operations to identify specific areas where cost reduction or efficiency improvements could be implemented without compromising their reputation for precision manufacturing. The analysis demanded both detailed data collection and strategic thinking about interconnected systems that affected multiple operational outcomes. My analytical approach began with comprehensive data gathering that included production metrics, labor utilization patterns, supply chain costs, and quality control measurements that provided quantitative foundation for identifying improvement opportunities. The process required coordination with department managers, production supervisors, and financial analysts who possess specialized knowledge about different operational components. The data collection process revealed the demanding nature of consulting work that required managing multiple information sources while maintaining professional relationships with client personnel who had varying levels of cooperation and transparency. Some managers provided comprehensive information and analytical support, while others demonstrated resistance to external evaluation and potential operational changes. Production supervisor Maria Rodriguez became an invaluable resource who understood both technical manufacturing requirements and practical workforce management challenges that affected operational efficiency. Her insights provided context for data interpretation, while revealing improvement opportunities that purely quantitative analysis might have overlooked. The third shift consistently shows lower productivity metrics than day and evening shifts, but the standard analysis doesn't account for equipment maintenance schedules and material delivery timing that affects their operational conditions, Maria explained during our detailed productivity review. If we could adjust maintenance timing and improve third shift material availability, we could probably achieve 15% productivity improvement without personnel changes. This type of operational insight demonstrated the value of collaborative analysis that combined quantitative data with practical experience from frontline personnel. The recommendation would require coordination between multiple departments but could generate substantial cost savings through improved asset utilization rather than workforce reduction. Additional analysis revealed supply chain inefficiencies that resulted from vendor relationships that had not been systematically evaluated for several years. 3 major component suppliers were providing materials at prices that exceeded market rates, while delivery schedules created inventory carrying costs that consumed working capital unnecessarily. The vendor analysis required detailed market research and competitive pricing evaluation that revealed potential annual savings exceeding $200,000 through renegotiated contracts and optimized delivery schedules. The recommendations required careful implementation planning to avoid disrupting production schedules while achieving cost reduction objectives. My first week at Cascade Manufacturing concluded with preliminary findings presentation to senior management that would establish credibility and demonstrate the value of continued consulting engagement. The presentation required translation of detailed analytical findings into executive-level strategic recommendations that addressed their specific business challenges and competitive positioning requirements. The presentation preparation process revealed the demanding communication standards that consulting work required. Elizabeth Harrison reviewed my materials extensively, providing detailed feedback about analytical rigor, strategic reasoning, and presentation techniques that would effectively communicate complex findings to executive audiences with limited time and specific decision-making requirements. Your analysis demonstrates strong technical capabilities and systematic thinking, Elizabeth observed during our preparation session. However, you need to strengthen the connection between your findings and specific implementation actions that senior management can authorize and monitor. Consultants must provide actionable recommendations rather than analytical observations. This feedback emphasized the practical orientation that distinguished consulting work from academic analysis. client engagements required solutions that could be implemented within existing organizational constraints, while generating measurable improvements that justified consulting fees and validated management decision-making. The presentation to Cascade Manufacturing's executive team provided my first experience with high-stakes client communication, where analytical credibility and professional competence would be evaluated by experienced business leaders who possessed detailed knowledge of their industry and operations. The audience included Chief Executive Officer David Park, Chief Financial Officer Susan Wright, and Operations Director Michael Foster, each of whom brought specific expertise and skeptical evaluation of external recommendations. Ms. Morgan, we've engaged consulting firms previously with mixed results, CEO David Park stated at the beginning of the presentation. We need practical solutions that acknowledge our operational realities and competitive constraints, rather than theoretical recommendations that sound impressive but cannot be implemented effectively. This introduction established performance expectations that required demonstrating deep understanding of their business challenges, while providing concrete solutions that could generate measurable improvements within reasonable implementation timeframes. The pressure created intense focus on delivering analysis that would establish credibility and justify continued engagement. My presentation emphasized 3 primary improvement opportunities that could generate combined annual savings exceeding $500,000 through operational efficiency improvements, supply chain optimization, and workforce productivity enhancements. Each recommendation included detailed implementation planning, cost-benefit analysis, and risk assessment considerations that addressed practical concerns about disruption and execution challenges. The supply chain optimization recommendations generated immediate interest from CFO Susan Wright, who recognized the potential for significant working capital improvements through vendor renegotiation and inventory management modifications. Her questions demonstrated sophisticated understanding of financial implications while revealing additional analysis opportunities that could enhance the value of consulting engagement. Your vendor analysis reveals pricing discrepancies that we suspected but had not quantified systematically, Susan observed. If we can achieve the cost reductions you've projected while maintaining quality standards and delivery reliability, this single initiative could improve our profit margins by approximately 2 percentage points annually. The positive response from senior financial leadership provided validation of analytical quality while establishing foundation for expanded consulting engagement that could address additional operational challenges. The credibility established through rigorous analysis and practical recommendations created opportunities for broader strategic planning support. Operations Director Michael Foster expressed particular interest in the workforce productivity recommendations that addressed third-shift performance without requiring personnel reductions or significant capital investments. His operational expertise enabled detailed evaluation of implementation feasibility while identifying potential obstacles that required additional analysis and planning. The third-shift productivity improvement approach acknowledges the systemic factors that affect performance while providing concrete steps for achieving measurable improvements, Michael commented. This demonstrates understanding of our operational complexities that previous consultants have not achieved. The presentation concluded with authorization for expanded analysis that would develop detailed implementation plans and support execution of the approved recommendations. The engagement extension represented validation of consulting performance while providing opportunities for deeper client relationship development and advanced analytical challenges. The success of my first client presentation created confidence that transcended the intimidation of transitioning from administrative work to professional consulting. The positive response from experienced business leaders validated my analytical capabilities, while demonstrating that systematic thinking and thorough preparation could overcome experience limitations. However, the expanded engagement also revealed the demanding nature of consulting work that required sustained high performance under tight deadlines and intense client scrutiny. The follow-up analysis needed to address implementation details that required coordination with multiple departments while maintaining operational continuity during transition periods. My second week at Northwest Strategic Solutions included assignment to additional client projects that tested my ability to manage multiple analytical challenges simultaneously while maintaining quality standards for each engagement. The workload demanded enhanced time management and prioritization skills that exceeded anything required in my previous professional experience. The additional projects included strategic planning support for Peninsula Bank, a regional financial institution exploring expansion opportunities, and operational assessment for Evergreen Logistics, a transportation company seeking efficiency improvements in their distribution network. Each client presented unique analytical challenges that required industry-specific knowledge and specialized methodologies. The banking engagement required comprehensive market analysis and regulatory compliance evaluation that involved learning complex financial regulations and competitive dynamics within the Pacific Northwest banking industry. The steep learning curve demanded intensive research and consultation with industry experts who could provide specialized knowledge about banking operations and regulatory requirements. Meanwhile, the logistics project required understanding transportation economics, distribution network optimization, and supply chain management principles that differed significantly from manufacturing analysis. The analytical approaches needed adaptation to address service industry metrics and performance standards rather than production-focused measurements. Managing multiple client engagements simultaneously revealed the demanding nature of consulting work that required rapid context switching between different industries, analytical methodologies, and client relationship requirements. The intellectual challenges were intense but provided accelerated learning opportunities that compressed years of professional development into weeks of intensive experience. The pressure created occasional moments of doubt about my ability to maintain performance standards across multiple complex projects, while learning industry-specific knowledge that experienced consultants had developed over years of specialized practice. The imposter syndrome created anxiety about whether my academic preparation was sufficient for the practical demands of professional consulting. Elizabeth Harrison provided crucial support during these challenging periods by emphasizing that rapid learning and adaptation represented normal aspects of consulting career development, rather than evidence of inadequate preparation. Her mentorship included specific guidance about managing multiple projects while maintaining analytical rigor and client satisfaction across all engagements. Every consultant experiences periods of intense learning pressure during their first months of practice, Elizabeth explained during one of our regular check-in meetings. Your ability to maintain quality analysis while managing multiple projects demonstrates exactly the capabilities that enable long-term success in this field. The discomfort you're experiencing indicates growth rather than inadequacy. This perspective provided psychological support that enabled continued high performance, despite the demanding nature of simultaneous project management. The encouragement emphasized capability development rather than current limitations, while establishing realistic expectations about consulting career progression. The third week brought my first major analytical challenge when Cascade Manufacturing requested accelerated implementation of the supply chain optimization recommendations due to competitive pressures that required immediate cost reduction to maintain profitability. The timeline compression demanded intensive effort and coordination that tested every aspect of my consulting capabilities. The accelerated implementation required detailed vendor negotiations, contract revision analysis, and operational coordination that exceeded the scope of typical analytical consulting. The project demanded practical business skills including negotiation, project management, and change management that supplemented analytical capabilities with execution expertise. Working directly with Cascade Manufacturing's procurement team provided hands-on experience with vendor relationship management and contract negotiation that revealed the practical complexity of implementing consulting recommendations. The theoretical analysis had identified opportunities, but execution required navigating organizational politics, vendor resistance, and operational constraints that complicated straightforward cost reduction initiatives. The successful completion of the accelerated implementation project generated annual savings of $215,000, while establishing template processes that Cascade Manufacturing could apply to future vendor relationships. The tangible results provided validation of consulting value while demonstrating my ability to support implementation rather than merely providing analytical recommendations. The project's success created recognition within Northwest Strategic Solutions that enhanced my professional credibility and generated opportunities for increased responsibility and more complex analytical challenges. Elizabeth Harrison acknowledged the exceptional performance while establishing expectations for continued growth and advancement within the consulting practice. Catherine, your ability to transition from analysis to implementation demonstrates executive-level capabilities that typically require several years of consulting experience to develop, Elizabeth commented during my monthly performance review. Your client management skills and practical problem-solving approach suggest readiness for expanded responsibilities and higher-value engagements. The recognition provided confirmation that my career transition was achieving the professional advancement objectives that had motivated my decision to leave administrative work and pursue consulting opportunities. The performance validation exceeded initial expectations while establishing foundation for continued growth and increased compensation through merit-based advancement. As my first month at Northwest Strategic Solutions concluded, I reflected on the dramatic transformation that had occurred since Trevor's abandonment at Westfield Shopping Center. The consulting work had revealed capabilities and created professional satisfaction that exceeded anything I had experienced during my administrative career, while generating financial independence that eliminated vulnerability to manipulation or control. The trials and challenges of consulting work had tested every aspect of my analytical abilities, professional skills, and personal resilience, while providing opportunities for growth that compressed years of career development into intensive learning experiences. The demanding nature of the work had proven my capabilities, while establishing credibility within a professional environment that rewarded excellence and strategic thinking. The transition into my second month at Northwest Strategic Solutions brought unexpected visibility within the Pacific Northwest business community. The successful completion of the Cascade manufacturing engagement had generated industry discussion about analytical methodologies and implementation approaches that distinguished exceptional consulting work from conventional business analysis. This recognition created opportunities for professional advancement while simultaneously attracting scrutiny from individuals who viewed my rapid progress as threatening to established hierarchies. The consulting industry operated through interconnected professional networks, where reputation development occurred through client results, peer recognition, and strategic relationship building. My accelerated advancement from administrative coordination to successful consulting practice challenged conventional expectations about career progression timelines and generated both supportive advocacy and competitive resistance from established professionals. Senior partner Thomas Mitchell emerged as a crucial advocate who recognized the strategic value of my analytical capabilities for expanding Northwest Strategic Solutions into specialized market segments. His extensive background included 25 years of management consulting experience with Fortune 500 clients throughout the Western United States, and his professional assessment carried significant influence within firm leadership discussions about strategic direction and personnel development. During our monthly strategic planning meeting, Thomas articulated his perspective on my potential contributions to firm growth objectives. Catherine demonstrates the combination of analytical rigor and practical implementation focus that enables successful expansion into defense sector consulting. Her ability to master complex regulatory environments while maintaining client relationship excellence suggests readiness for leadership responsibilities that could accelerate our market penetration in government contracting. This endorsement from senior leadership provided validation that transcended immediate project success while establishing expectations for continued advancement and increased responsibility. Thomas Mitchell's support created access to high-value client engagements and specialized training opportunities that would accelerate professional development beyond conventional progression patterns. However, the recognition also generated internal resistance from associate partner Jennifer Walsh, who had accumulated 6 years of experience at Northwest Strategic Solutions and expected to receive the advanced assignments that were being offered to me after only 8 weeks of employment. Her background included solid performance on multiple client engagements, and her concerns about advancement opportunities reflected legitimate professional interests rather than purely competitive jealousy. Jennifer's resistance manifested through systematic questioning of my analytical conclusions during client meetings and strategic planning discussions. Her approach involved suggesting that my recommendations required additional validation from more experienced consultants before implementation, implying that rapid advancement indicated insufficient seasoning rather than exceptional capability. During a firm-wide project review meeting, Jennifer articulated her concerns about consulting quality standards. While Catherine's manufacturing analysis demonstrated thoroughness, we should consider whether someone with more extensive industry experience might identify additional implementation risks or strategic considerations that could affect long-term client satisfaction and firm reputation. These comments created professional tension that required diplomatic navigation, while maintaining focus on client service excellence rather than internal political dynamics. The situation demanded demonstration of continued exceptional performance that would validate advancement decisions through measurable results rather than defensive responses to implied criticism. Elizabeth Harrison provided strategic guidance about managing competitive workplace dynamics while maintaining collaborative relationships that served client interests and firm objectives. Her approach emphasized professional development through results rather than engagement with internal political considerations that could distract from strategic goals. Consulting firms inevitably include competitive elements because partnership opportunities are limited, and performance differences directly affect compensation and advancement prospects, Elizabeth explained during our private discussion. Success requires maintaining focus on client value creation, while building relationships that support long-term career objectives, rather than responding to short-term political pressures. This perspective emphasized strategic thinking about professional development, while acknowledging realistic challenges about workplace dynamics that could influence career advancement. The guidance suggested approaches for managing competitive relationships while preserving energy for client service and capability development activities. My expanding client portfolio provided natural opportunities for building external advocates who recognized analytical value and strategic thinking capabilities independent of internal firm politics. David Park, Chief Executive Officer of Cascade Manufacturing, became particularly vocal about consulting effectiveness and began recommending my services to peer executives within his professional network. The client advocacy created protective advantages against internal competitive pressures, while generating business development opportunities that enhanced my value to Northwest Strategic Solutions. David Park's influence within the Pacific Northwest manufacturing community provided credibility that transcended internal firm dynamics and established market validation of consulting capabilities. During a Seattle Chamber of Commerce networking event, David Park introduced me to Michael Rodriguez, Chief Executive Officer of Titan Technologies, emphasizing the practical value of my analytical approach. Catherine's operational analysis identified cost reduction opportunities that generated immediate financial benefits while establishing systematic approaches for continued improvement. Her understanding of implementation challenges distinguishes her work from theoretical consulting that produces impressive presentations but limited practical results. This type of executive endorsement created referral opportunities that accelerated business development while establishing relationships with senior leaders who valued proven results over academic credentials or experience tenure. The client relationships provided foundation for continued growth while demonstrating market recognition of consulting effectiveness. Michael Rodriguez engaged Northwest Strategic Solutions specifically to work with me on strategic planning for Titan Technologies' expansion into aerospace defense markets. The engagement represented professional advancement and increased responsibility for managing complex client relationships that required sophisticated regulatory analysis and strategic positioning recommendations. Titan Technologies operated specialized manufacturing capabilities that served both commercial aviation and defense contracting markets. Their expansion planning required comprehensive assessment of regulatory compliance requirements, competitive positioning analysis, and operational scaling strategies that addressed technical complexity and government procurement standards. The project demanded collaboration with regulatory specialists, market research analysts, and industry experts who possessed specialized knowledge that supplemented my general consulting capabilities. The team environment provided opportunities for accelerated learning while contributing strategic thinking and project management skills that enhanced overall engagement effectiveness. Dr. Angela Foster, a regulatory compliance specialist with 15 years of aerospace defense experience, became a valuable professional mentor who recognized my potential for developing specialized expertise in government contracting and defense industry consulting. Her background included extensive knowledge of federal acquisition regulations and defense procurement processes that were essential for success in this market segment. Your analytical approach demonstrates the systematic thinking and attention to regulatory detail that characterizes successful defense sector consulting, Dr. Foster observed during our collaboration on Titan Technologies' compliance assessment. This market segment requires exactly the combination of technical rigor and practical implementation focus that distinguishes your consulting methodology. The encouragement provided direction for professional specialization that could differentiate my consulting practice while accessing high-value market segments with substantial growth potential and premium fee structures. Defense industry consulting offered opportunities for long-term client relationships and recurring engagements that could accelerate career advancement. However, specialization in defense consulting required security clearance applications and comprehensive background investigations that would examine personal circumstances and recent life changes as potential factors affecting security assessment. The process created vulnerability to scrutiny that might reveal information about my separation from Trevor and recent personal upheaval. The concern about background investigations proved prescient when Trevor's associates began monitoring my professional activities through industry networking channels. Jason Mitchell, Trevor's former colleague at Pacific Northwest Electronics, had learned about my consulting success through business connections that linked his sales territory with companies that had engaged Northwest Strategic Solutions. The confrontation occurred during a regional business development conference at the Bellevue Hilton, where I was representing Northwest Strategic Solutions at an industry networking reception. Jason's unexpected appearance created immediate risk to my professional reputation among clients and colleagues who were observing our interaction. Jason approached with the same dismissive attitude that had characterized his behavior during the shopping center incident. "Catherine, I understand you have been attempting to play businesswoman since Trevor provided you with lessons about independence. Trevor has been wondering when you will complete this midlife crisis and return home where you belong." The public nature of his confrontation created immediate threat to professional credibility among clients and industry professionals who were witnessing the interaction. The situation required diplomatic management that minimized disruption while establishing clear boundaries about appropriate professional behavior and personal respect. My response emphasized professional standards while avoiding escalation that could create additional disruption. "Jason, this is a professional networking event where I am representing my consulting firm. If you have personal matters to discuss, please contact me through appropriate channels rather than disrupting business activities and professional relationships." The controlled response attracted attention from Elizabeth Harrison and Thomas Mitchell, who recognized the inappropriate nature of Jason's behavior and immediately intervened to provide support while managing potential client concerns about personal conflicts affecting business relationships. Elizabeth Harrison approached with professional authority that established clear boundaries about acceptable behavior. "Mr. Mitchell, I am Elizabeth Harrison, managing partner at Northwest Strategic Solutions. Catherine is one of our senior associates, and if you have legitimate business matters to discuss, we can arrange appropriate meeting times that do not interfere with client development activities and professional networking." The firm's support demonstrated institutional backing while establishing consequences for disruptive behavior that threatened client relationships and professional reputations. Jason's aggressive approach had created alliance between firm leadership and myself while revealing his inappropriate conduct to business professionals who valued decorum and mutual respect. The incident indicated that Trevor and his associates were systematically monitoring my professional advancement and might attempt additional interference with career development activities. The surveillance created strategic concerns about protecting client relationships and firm reputation from personal conflicts that could undermine professional credibility and business development efforts. The following week brought escalated confrontation when Trevor contacted Elizabeth Harrison directly, with fabricated accusations about intellectual property theft and proprietary information misuse. His strategy involved claiming that my consulting work violated non-disclosure agreements from previous employment and threatened legal action unless my consulting engagement was terminated immediately. Elizabeth Harrison requested an emergency meeting to address Trevor's allegations and assess their potential impact on client relationships and firm reputation. Her approach demonstrated professional leadership while providing opportunity for complete transparency about personal circumstances that affected professional considerations. "Catherine, I received concerning communication from someone claiming to be your former husband," Elizabeth explained with professional directness. "He made serious accusations about intellectual property theft and claimed that your consulting activities violate confidentiality agreements from your previous employment at Eastside Community College." The false accusations represented systematic escalation in Trevor's attempts to destroy my professional advancement through fabricated legal threats designed to create doubt about integrity and trustworthiness. The strategy targeted my most vulnerable professional assets by threatening client relationships and firm reputation that supported career transformation. Complete transparency about personal circumstances became necessary for protecting professional relationships and maintaining client confidence. Elizabeth, I need to provide comprehensive context about my personal situation so you can evaluate these accusations accurately. Trevor abandoned me at a shopping center 2 months ago, and these allegations represent harassment designed to undermine my independence rather than legitimate legal concerns. The explanation required revealing personal information that I had preferred to maintain separately from professional relationships, but Trevor's interference made such disclosure necessary for protecting career advancement and maintaining institutional support. Elizabeth Harrison's response demonstrated exceptional professional judgment and character assessment that distinguished outstanding leaders from merely successful executives. Her evaluation focused on performance evidence and demonstrated integrity rather than personal drama or unsubstantiated allegations from external sources. Your consulting performance over the past 2 months has been exemplary, and your client relationships demonstrate professional competence and ethical conduct, Elizabeth stated with firm conviction. These accusations appear to constitute harassment rather than legitimate legal concerns, and Northwest Strategic Solutions will provide complete support while we address this matter through appropriate legal channels. The institutional support provided crucial protection against sabotage attempts while demonstrating that professional excellence created advocates who would defend against personal attacks and false accusations. The situation revealed that building strong relationships through exceptional performance provided resilience against external threats to career advancement. Thomas Mitchell recommended engaging Patricia Williams, a corporate attorney specializing in employment law and harassment cases, to develop comprehensive legal strategies for protection against continued interference, while establishing documentation that could support restraining orders if Trevor's behavior escalated further. Patricia Williams provided strategic assessment of legal options during our initial consultation. Mr. Morgan's behavior constitutes systematic harassment and potentially criminal interference with your employment and professional relationships. His false accusations and threats against your employer create grounds for legal action that could establish permanent protections against continued interference with your career and personal safety. The legal consultation provided proactive strategies for addressing harassment while protecting professional reputation and client relationships. The approach emphasized prevention of future interference rather than reactive damage control after professional harm had occurred. Meanwhile, my client relationships continued strengthening through exceptional analytical performance and measurable business results that generated substantial value for their organizations. Michael Rodriguez at Titan Technologies became particularly effective advocate, who recommended my services to additional aerospace companies seeking strategic planning and regulatory compliance support. During an aerospace industry trade association meeting, Michael Rodriguez provided public endorsement that enhanced my professional reputation. Catherine's market analysis and regulatory compliance assessment enabled our successful entry into defense contracting markets while avoiding costly delays and compliance issues. Her analytical rigor and practical implementation approach distinguish her work from theoretical consulting that provides limited actionable value. The client advocacy created protective effects against personal attacks while generating business development opportunities that enhanced my strategic value to Northwest Strategic Solutions. Professional recognition from respected industry leaders provided credibility that transcended personal controversies and false accusations from external sources. Dr. Angela Foster facilitated introduction to Colonel Patricia Davis, a retired Air Force procurement officer who had transitioned to defense industry consulting and sought analytical support for her expanding practice. The connection provided opportunities for developing specialized expertise while building relationships with established professionals in high-value market segments. Your systematic analytical approach would complement our regulatory compliance and procurement strategy services effectively, Colonel Davis explained during our initial meeting. Defense industry clients require exactly the combination of technical rigor and practical implementation focus that characterizes your consulting methodology and client management approach. The collaboration opportunity provided pathways for professional specialization while creating alliance with experienced professionals who could accelerate learning and business development in defense sector consulting. The relationship offered additional protection against personal interference, while opening access to high-security, high-value client engagements. However, expanding professional visibility also created additional exposure to sabotage attempts as Trevor's associates became aware of my success through industry connections and networking activities. Bradley Stevens, another associate from Pacific Northwest Electronics, attempted reputation damage through spreading rumors about professional qualifications and suggesting that rapid advancement resulted from inappropriate relationships rather than analytical capabilities. The defamation campaign required direct confrontation through professional channels that established clear records about qualifications and performance, while creating consequences for false statements about professional competence and ethical conduct. Elizabeth Harrison and Thomas Mitchell provided institutional support by documenting achievements and directly contradicting fabricated allegations about advancement methods. During a Seattle Business Journal networking event, Thomas Mitchell addressed rumors directly with professional authority. Catherine's consulting performance has been evaluated through rigorous client feedback and measurable business results that demonstrate exceptional analytical capabilities and professional competence. Any suggestions that her success results from factors other than merit are completely false and potentially defamatory. The firm defense of professional reputation demonstrated institutional commitment while establishing clear consequences for personal attacks that threatened business relationships and career advancement. The public support from respected firm leadership neutralized defamation attempts while reinforcing credibility with industry professionals. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.